The metallic clang of a wrench hitting concrete is not the sound you expect to trigger a revolution, but that's how my Friday began. There I was, just a regular guy in a dusty garage, grease up to my elbows, when my world turned upside down faster than you can say HOA nightmare. Picture this. I'm working on a car, radio humming in the background, when suddenly, the ground trembles and the entire neighborhood is alive with sirens and screaming. And at the center of it all, Karen. Not just any Karen. The Karen of Willowbrook Estates, armed with a rulebook thicker than a phone directory, pointing at my garage and shouting like she's running a boot camp for angry villagers. Where are the police? Arrest him, she shrieks, as if she's casting for Law and Order, Suburbia. But here's the kicker. She didn't know someone special was watching this sideshow from the corner. Someone with enough pull to make even state officials sweat. You ever get the sense life's about to throw you a curveball? Yeah, that happened. Let me back up a sec. Just 3 hours earlier, this was a perfectly boring suburban Friday. My garage was my sanctuary. Classic Mustangs lined up next to the family Civic, coffee brewing. The kind of day that makes you forget HOA wars even exist. But today, it looked like a scene straight out of CSI. Sirens, squad cars, uniformed officers who looked way too serious for someone just fixing a busted alternator. The transformation happened in under 5 minutes, right at 3 p.m., the same time every other Friday when my client came by for a vehicle pickup. This client, he was all about discretion and timelines. No one can know, he'd said. The man could make a death threat sound like a dinner invitation. The car? A black limousine so loaded with gadgets and armor it could survive the apocalypse and still have time to jam your cell signal. Now, it's not like I don't know how to keep secrets. Security clearance, background checks, NDAs that could double as bulletproof vests. Been there, done that. But none of that prepared me for the absolute chaos a power-drunk HOA president can bring to your doorstep. See, in Willowbrook Estates, grass grows at exactly 1.5 inches. Mailboxes are all the same shade of acceptably bland, and Karen has ruled this patch of suburbia like some sort of beige tyrant for 8 years straight. She's the kind of person who measures lawns with a ruler, files violations for having the wrong Christmas lights, and hosts mailbox court to judge you for your Halloween decorations. Her kingdom was built on conformity, and my garage, with its hint of motor oil and sense of purpose, was public enemy number one. My mistake? Saying yes to a government contract. That brought the black car into the neighborhood and painted a target on my back. That smell is killing our property values. Karen announced on her first inspection, her hair frozen in a style that screamed, "I've never sweated in my life." She wore yoga gear with tags still attached and looked at my garage like I was running a chop shop for the mob. I tried explaining. Permits, hobbies, WD-40 isn't nuclear waste, but Karen didn't hear it. She collects violations like baseball cards, and I was about to become her Babe Ruth. My wife Emily and our son Max watched from the window, both half amused, half worried. Emily kept saying Karen would get bored and move on, but she didn't get it. This was more than a petty feud. It was about protecting family, protecting my work, and holding the line against a woman who believed her authority started and ended with her clipboard. Max, meanwhile, was obsessed with the limo. He's 12 and thinks classified means coolest dad ever. Why can't you just tell the mean lady you're fixing cars for the government? He'd ask. I wish, buddy. But when secrecy is your job, lying becomes second nature, even to your own kid. The guilt? It eats at you. Things escalated. Karen went from passive-aggressive sticky notes to full-blown legal threats. 48 hours to clear out your garage, she declared, flanked by her 2 loyal board members. She actually believed HOA bylaws trumped constitutional rights, which, spoiler alert, they do not. Of course, this all led up to today's grand spectacle. And trust me, I hadn't planned it. I'd never orchestrate a public humiliation of Karen. Okay, maybe in my dreams. But the universe? Sometimes it writes better scripts than I ever could. But the real show started the day before, when Karen dropped off a violation notice so thick it could have stopped a bullet. 20 pages, single-spaced, complete with color photos and Google Earth satellite shots. She'd found every obscure code she could, California ordinances, EPA rules, municipal bylaws, none of which actually applied. Turns out, half of her citations were outdated or just plain fake. Emily, God bless her, started fact-checking. Half these codes don't exist. The rest don't apply, she said, laying out the paperwork on our dining table. Max, amateur filmmaker that he is, managed to record Karen and her sketchy sidekick, Marcus Webb, rehearsing their intimidation speech in her car. Webb claimed he was a city planner but couldn't even get the zoning terms right. If he was legit, I'm the Queen of England. Emily went full documentation mode, live streaming everything to a handful of neighbors who were equal parts curious and entertained. Within a week, her Garage Under Siege page picked up steam. People started sharing their own Karen horror stories. And then, out of nowhere, Mrs. Patterson, our 72-year-old retired librarian neighbor, knocked on our door with a USB stick. You need to hear what Karen said in last Tuesday's board meeting. She whispered, like she was passing off nuclear codes. The recording was dynamite. Karen, clear as day. We need Daniel Ross out before he starts asking questions about our casino project funding. If we have to manufacture violations, we do it. Turns out, my garage wasn't the problem. I was the problem, because I might connect the dots on her backroom deals. Webb, not a city planner. He was a suspended attorney, now the bagman for County Commissioner Davidson, whose wife ran a consulting company swallowing up HOA money. So what does a suburban dad do when faced with that? Well, you dig. And what I found was a $200,000 black hole in HOA funds, money funneled straight into Davidson's wife's company, money that was supposed to fix streets and instead went to consulting on a casino land grab. Karen's job was to drive down property values, trigger eminent domain, and cash out big. Emily's posts went viral. Suddenly, I had an army of neighbors, exasperated victims, and a librarian with a knack for espionage on my side. The day before the blow-up, our Garage Under Siege page had 300 followers. By Friday, it was pushing thousands, and the story had outgrown our block. So when Karen called her emergency HOA meeting, packed with loyalists and staged like a courtroom, I showed up, cool as can be, with my own paperwork. She tried to grandstand about dangerous business activities, quoting codes she barely understood. I asked her to cite the law. She stammered. Wrong state, wrong ordinance, wrong everything. That's when Mrs. Patterson stood up and asked, "Where's the $200,000, Karen?" Suddenly, people stopped caring about my garage. Phones were out, fact-checking in real time. Karen's empire was cracking. Desperate, Karen called 911, standing in the parking lot as residents demanded answers. She invented a terrorism scare, claimed I was stockpiling weapons. You know what I mean? Full SWAT, lights flashing, the works. But this time, Emily's live stream had 25,000 viewers, and the most important watcher was sitting in a black SUV, ready to flip the script. Police showed up, SWAT gear and all, but Officer Mitchell was no fool. He asked for details. Karen's answers got wilder and vaguer by the second. Meanwhile, I asked for a warrant. You should have seen Karen's face, realizing she was about to go from HOA queen to internet meme. And then, right on cue, 3 p.m. sharp, the garage door rose and out stepped Governor William Hayes. No intro needed. Just the most powerful man in the state, calmly reminding everyone that this suspicious garage was, in fact, a classified state facility, and I was just doing my job. The crowd went dead silent. SWAT put down their gear. Karen looked like she'd just seen her tax returns audited on live TV. And me? I handed Governor Hayes all the evidence, financial records, recordings, the whole conspiracy gift-wrapped with a bow. He took one look at the mess Karen and Davidson had created and turned it into a federal case right there on my driveway. It got wilder. Marcus Webb, realizing the jig was up, walked over and confessed, on camera, in front of thousands. Bribes, false studies, intimidation campaigns, the works. Karen tried to claim she was just following orders, but every bit of her scheming had already been uploaded to the feds. The aftermath? Epic. Karen, Webb, and Davidson all got arrested. The missing money was recovered, the casino project went up in smoke, and Willowbrook Estate voted to dissolve the HOA. Mrs. Patterson became council president, the community got its playgrounds fixed, and every financial record was posted online for all to see. Emily wrote a book, David vs. HOA Lieth, and testified at hearings that changed state law. Max's documentary film about the case became a hit, his YouTube channel exploded, and kids around here started learning about car engines and civic rights. I used the settlement to open Ross Automotive Academy, teaching teens how to fix cars and fight for themselves. Democracy, it turns out, doesn't die from corruption. It dies from people looking the other way. But not this time. So let me ask you, if a Karen came after your home, would you fight back? Would you stand your ground? Or would you walk away and let the bullies win? Drop a comment below. Tell me where you stand on justice, corruption, and the wild world of HOAs. And if you want more stories where the underdog actually wins, you know what to do. Hit subscribe, share your wildest neighborhood saga, and stick with us for the next crazy ride. Because sometimes, the good guys really do win.